Good morning. Welcome to another Memphis Monday. Today we're kind of going to have a day in the life episode, but not really. We're going to go through several projects. I like to complete things in my videos, so I don't like progress videos much. But anyway, we'll finish something today, but we do have several different projects that we're working on. So let's get started, knock off the chatter. Well, I'm finished going through my filing system. As you know, I said in other videos, I keep a file on all my equipment. So today, instead of doing those projects I was talking about, let me show you one of the reasons I keep a file on everything. What got me going on this episode is, first of all, one of my viewers said that I ought to do some more talking videos and some shop tips and stuff. Didn't know what to talk about, but last night I was working with my Dremel tool. This is a model 4200 with the flexible rod. I was doing some engraving and it just stopped working. So I just thought I overheated it, and if I let it cool off, it would start working again. Well, that didn't happen. So I went to the internet because the instruction manual and all the paperwork I keep in my file didn't have a troubleshooting section. So I had to go to the internet, and come to find out, this thing has a bad switch, and Dremel knows about it. This goes back to 2004. It's got bad brushes, and it's got connectors that come off. And the last recommendation, after you check all that stuff, is to bang it against something. I'm not kidding you. Bang it against something. And guess what? I banged it against something and it worked. Well, anyway, the bottom line is I'm going to have to tear this thing apart. I was going to put it on video today, but I don't think I'll have time. I'm going to have to tear this thing apart and fix it, because I bought it and it was already broke, and Dremel knows it. Okay, let's take a look at the DeWalt Laminate. This is a DeWalt Laminate trimmer. I don't know if you can see it on the video. See that part broke right there? This snap down thing here is made out of cheap plastic, and as soon as you try to close it, it breaks. And they know it too, because if you read the manual, it's got a warning. Be real careful with this switch, with this thing. Don't press it too hard. You'll break it. Well, I didn't press it hard. I just tried to close it, and it broke. It's so weak that I can't even open it back up again without breaking the rest of the thing off. And does DeWalt know about it? Sure, they know about it. That's the reason they put the warning in the book. It's a piece of crap, made in China, junk. They bought millions of these. They can't do anything about it, and they're just stuck. And in this whole thing, and so I checked the internet, and I sure did. And everybody's, well, not everybody's, but a lot of these things break. Okay, let's go on to the next item. A Sears Craftsman belt and disc sander. This is how it came. It's actually a pretty good rig, except it's put on this Rube Goldberg stand, no braces. The motor's hanging down here, it's underpowered. It's attached to the side over here with, you know, sheet metal things. You have to adjust it all the time. It's just a rattle trap. And you turn the thing on, it wants to run across the floor because of the flimsy construction. Let me show you, I already did a video on this, but let me show you how I fixed this. How I fixed the thing was basically tear that whole stand apart and completely rebuild it. I got braces between the legs. I put wheels on it. Its original configuration is pretty much worthless because it basically is sitting in one place all the time. I put a heavy-duty top on it, you know, 1.5 inch thick top. Now when I turn this thing on, it's rock solid. And to solve the motor problem, is also underpowered. I put a bigger motor on it, and I also put the motor just on a gravity tensioner here to it gravity tensions the blade. And if there's ever, I never had any vibrations, but if there ever were any vibrations, I could tighten it up with this wing nut. So I never got very many views on this rebuild, but it's what you got to do with equipment these days. When you buy it, you got to first thing I do is work on it. Let me show you my table saw. This is my Hitachi table saw. Seems to work okay, but there's a design flaw in it that I think you'll agree is pretty amazing. I don't know if you'll be able to see down in there. But right there, you can see it. Those are the gears to angle the blade. There's a handle on the outside that goes in and turns, you turn the handle and it turns a crank which angles the blade. Well, the mechanism's all right, but the problem is sawdust gets in that right there in those gears. You know, most new quality table saws don't have all these gears. It's just manually operated. You just grab a hold of it, unlock it, and tilt it to where you want it. But not this one. Whenever you saw, sawdust goes right down on those gears and makes it almost impossible to turn. So you got, whenever you want to adjust your blade, you got to take the blade out and blow all the dust away from those gears. And you can't tell me that the guys from Hitachi didn't know full well that this design was faulty. Fairly new 30-gallon Cobalt air compressor. It's about all the air compressor I need. As a matter of fact, I don't even need this. I have a couple of pancake air compressors over there for my nail guns and stuff, but I can use this one to blow things down and that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, the design flaw on this thing, to my mind, is the fact that the water bleed out valve underneath is almost impossible to get at, and they got to know that, because they put a thing in the instruction manual that says make sure you blow the thing down before every use. So that means to blow this thing down, I got to get down on my hands and knees, lay on my back, reach under there, try to find the knob. It's a little thumb thing, which didn't work, and it was just impossible. So what I did, and what most people do, is I had bleed this thing down and attach my own bleed out valve so I could blow this thing down like a human being. But I'm not the only one that does this. Everybody who really uses an air compressor, you have to do this. It's amazing. I don't know why they don't just put them. It'd be another $1.50 in parts, but they don't care. They don't care. Let's look at these big shop fans. See that big pulley in there? Well, that big pulley is made out of plastic, and it fails. You can't buy a replacement, and the shaft size is weird. Isn't that wonderful? That's the reason this shop fan runs normally, and my other shop fan over there runs slow because I got the wrong size pulley on it. I just take a pulley that was too small and put on there because I couldn't buy a replacement pulley. Of course, another thing I've done with my shop fans is I put them up on stands because they're almost impossible to get around on these little fake wheels. Flat. The cheapest tires you could ever find, they put on these things. And they got inner tubes in them. So I know that every single shop fan that this outfit is sold, the wheels are flat. Almost guarantee it. And they know about it. So I put mine up on stands so I can wheel them around and the air's up where I want it. So what happens if you bought one of these Skill Model 2503 cordless drill and screwdriver setups, and you were real proud of it, or somebody gave it for Christmas or whatever? Well, I almost guarantee 99.9% of the time, every one of these that has ever sold has been thrown away because you can't get the batteries. The batteries cost more than a new one, and they're a piece of garbage to begin with. Aha! Unless you watch Memphis Monday, and then you know all you got to do is attach a light cord to it, put a couple of alligator clips, and what do you got? You got the best, most reliable, lightest drill ever. Well, what about your C6W wheelbarrow? That thing has almost no moving parts. Surely you didn't have to do anything to that, did you, Memphis? Well, let's just go see. Here's my C6W wheelbarrow. Had to completely re-overhaul it. All these bolts right down here, I had to put some rust-resistant zinc-coated bolts all around because they all rusted out. And the tire on the Happy C6W was a pneumatic tire that naturally went flat the first month I had it. And I guarantee you, every single one of these wheelbarrows that were ever sold, the tire is flat. I bet there's almost none of these in existence because whoever built this wheelbarrow put a tire on it that would go flat. It was almost impossible to fix, and buying a new tire, you could buy a whole new. I paid probably $75 for this flat-free tire, just as a matter of principle. It's a good wheelbarrow. It's got this flat-free, solid tire on it. I replaced all the defective fasteners, and I painted their defective coating on their wood, And so now I got a pretty good wheelbarrow. But I had to remanufacture the thing. And I could have bought a new wheelbarrow for probably half the money I spent fixing this. So who's a smart one, them or me? So if you got a lawnmower and with one of these little flaps on them, and all lawnmowers have them, how do you get that flap? How do you pull that flap up when you want to go up next to a tree or sidewalk or something? Well, you're going to have to install a rope like this one. And I don't know if everybody does it, but you got to install a little fitting down there to tie it to. Then you got to figure out somewhere to attach it up here. And does this mean that the lawnmower companies don't know about this flaw in design? I don't think so. I think they know. Well, Memphis, how about Briggs Stratton? They make good stuff. Surely Briggs Stratton wouldn't have a design flaw. Oh no? Well, how about this? See this carburetor right here? I guarantee if you have a carburetor like that, it's probably going to leak. And if you try to fix it, it's still going to leak. And if you buy a carburetor kit, well, it probably costs half as much as the whole motor. So how do you solve it? Well, what you do is you put an inline gas valve like this one. So I just keep it closed, and when I want to use it, I just open it up. Done with it, just close it. Well, what about gas cans? How could a gas can be faulty? Well, most of them are faulty because they put these trick tops on them that you have to push something down to get the top off, and all kinds of nonsense, and they just don't work. So what you do is just make a little bong like that, and then you just stick it in there. Seals it up. No huss, no fuss. I never do talk about future projects because I never want to talk about a project unless I'm actually going to do it and actually have a plan and so forth. But I don't think I have any choice here because this is another manufacturing defect. These metal stands here, like if you go to Lowe's or someplace and buy them, they're $100 a pop. Now you'd think that they'd be built better than this. The metal parts are probably not bad, but the rest of it, look at that hole right there. This is made out of paper. I mean, this is a press board, a sandpaper board. It's not even good sandpaper board. They put it in there because it's cheap, and you say, well, you got it outside, it's probably got wet or whatever. It was like this when I had them inside. After a while, they start sagging. It's just crappy stuff. So I'm going to have to replace all this wood. And they know about the defect too. Well, that's it for another Memphis Monday. I guess this is a shop tips. And of course I could go on and on about the defective products that get sold. There's nothing I can do about it, and you could go on about it too. I mean, it's endless. When you buy something today, there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to have to modify it or change it or repair it right after you get it, or within a few weeks or months. And there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nobody to call who speaks English. You just got to look for the best stuff you can, and be ready to repair it, and fix it, and modify it, and change it. And I guess that's what this is all about. That's what the wheels and on the fans, and replacing the tire on the wheel barrel, and I've got to tear that Dremel tool apart, figure out what's wrong with it, replace jerry rig, maybe have to jerry rig some wires in there to get the thing to work. They count on you just going out and buying a new one because they're pretty cheap. But it just irks me sometimes that I have to do that. I'd rather just repair. I like to repair stuff, so I'm gonna try to fix it. If I have to connect the darn thing, it's got a universal motor in it. I might connect that darn Dremel tool to a battery or something. It just irks me that I have to, do it. But on the other hand, I like to do it, so I shouldn't complain. Alrighty. So that's it for another Memphis Monday. I hope this wasn't a very long one or a boring one. But next week we'll be into another exciting project. So I hope to see you next week. Make sure you like and favorite and share and tweet and Facebook and whatever, all that stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. I hardly know how to upload video. I don't do any of that stuff, so you'll have to forgive me. Because as long as I have you, I don't care about all those other people anyway. So I'll see you next week. So stay excited.